Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Brennan Blumendahl, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the country of Uganda, just a little bit about the history and the culture, and just how some of those things have shaped the way of life there today. I'm sure a lot of you guys by now have probably heard of the organization Invisible Children, who works in Uganda, or at least their campaign called Kony 2012. Invisible Children is just a really cool organization that really has worked for several years now to try to bring to light some of the things that have been going on in Uganda for decades now, and the war that's been going on, and just the atrocities that the people of Uganda have had to go through. If you haven't seen any of their films yet, I would encourage you guys to go and see some of those and just kind of get a little bit educated on what's kind of going on and what you can actually do to be a part of helping the people there. I'm going to take you guys back a little bit, though, to kind of the beginning of the actual country of Uganda. Like most other African countries, Uganda was colonized in the early 1900s. They were colonized by Britain, and there was, early on there was a very big division between tribes. There was, the northern tribes and the southern tribes who had actually been warring for a long time before anyone had ever come to Africa. And once the country gained its independence, it was something that still kind of dug its roots in and affected just the way the country operated. And originally, one of the tribal kings was placed as the leader, or the president, if you will, of the country, and his name was Mutesa II. He was basically the tribal king of the Bugandans, who were in the south. But there were still some problems because there were still tribal differences. And the people kind of wanted to have a unified country, a unified people, and they didn't want just one king from a certain tribe ruling the entire country. So a man named Milton Obote, who was actually from the northern area of Uganda, the Acholi people, created an army basically and took over and created this governmental system and established himself as the president. This was in 1964, so it wasn't that long after they had gained their independence. But because of the tribal differences, the people in the south, the Ugandans, didn't want a northerner leader of the country, so a man named Idi Amin actually rebelled and fought a war against Milton Obote for a while and took over as president for about 10 or 11 years. If you've seen the movie The Last King of Scotland, you've probably heard a little bit about Idi Amin. Obviously, the movie is not the best historically accurate film, but you can kind of see some of the stuff that Idi Amin did. He was a very terrible ruler who terrorized his people for his entire reign, pretty much. But after Idi Amin, Obote actually took back over for a while, and later in the late 70s, a man named Yoweri Museveni started to rebel from the south. Of course, there's still the north-south difference that's going on. And he became president in about 1985. And he's actually the current president, and this is when the most recent war actually started. Museveni was from the south, and he pretty much used his power and his reign to benefit only the people of his tribe. And this was something that, of course, angered the northerners, and they decided to rebel. And this was how the army ran by Joseph Kony was started. It was called the Lord's Resistance Army, or LRA. And they basically believed at the beginning that they were called by God to overthrow Museveni and establish a government that was based on the Ten Commandments and that would benefit all of the people of Uganda, that everyone would be equals, we would all be brothers and sisters, and they could live in true peace. But because, it was run by humans, obviously there was some fallacy in that, and after only a few years of fighting, Joseph Kony lost the support of the northern people and basically began to attack his own people and abduct children from the north and force them to fight in his army. And that's basically where the whole Invisible Children movement started. It was when Jason, Laren, and Bobby went and saw this in Uganda and made a film about it and started telling people about it. It's really kind of a sad story from there on. Millions of people were forced to flee from their homes and go live in these huts. I actually got to stay in one of these displacement camps for a while, and just really terrible living conditions that we can never never even really imagined what it would be like to live in. A lot of disease spreading around, a lot of lack of food and proper health conditions. It was just really a bad situation altogether. And Kony was still on the loose, killing thousands upon thousands of people, abducting tens of thousands of people and forcing them to fight. But after some time, he was actually forced to leave Uganda. The Ugandan army was able to push him out into the forests of the DR Congo. And a lot of things have really happened over probably about the last 5 or 6 years. Kony lost a lot of his fighters. He lost a lot of support that he was getting from some of the government in Sudan and from outside sources. And his force has basically been dwindling over that span of time. And now there's only maybe a couple hundred fighters left. And a really cool thing happened actually 2 years ago. And there was a bill passed in the U.S. by President Obama. It was called the LRA Disarmament and Northern Ugandan Recovery Act. And it basically called for our country to lead the strategy to apprehend Joseph Kony, basically to bring the war to an end, and then to aid the people who have been affected by this war, both in Uganda and the surrounding countries. And we've already seen a lot of progress made from that. They actually captured one of Kony's senior commanders only a few weeks ago, and are very, very positive that they probably will be able to capture Kony within the next few months, hopefully, which is just a crazy thing. I mean, this is a war that's been going on for 26 years now. This man has been allowed to do whatever he wants, to kill people, to abduct people, and no one's ever answered to that. And now it might finally come to an end. So it's a really awesome thing, and it's something that people like you and me can actually be involved in making happen. Even though that bill was passed and things have been done, it's very easy for certain things like that just to slip through the governmental system and just to kind of fade away over time. But if we the people, we the constituents of the people who are making these things happen, speak out and continue time and time again to let them know how important this is to us, then it's something that they will continue in, and we can actually see this war come to an end. So if that's something you want to be a part of, I would encourage you just to maybe educate yourself a little bit more. You can go online and read about just the history of the war and the history of Uganda. You can go to invisiblechildren.com and find out about some of the projects that they have going on right now. They're currently funding the rebuilding of schools in northern Uganda. They have a rehabilitation center for child soldiers in the Congo, as well as radio towers that are actually allow villages to communicate with one another to keep them safe when there are LRA attacks. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of ways you can get involved. Just calling your senators, writing letters, raising funds to help these different projects. But it's definitely something that is not over yet, and we need all the help we can get to make it happen. I would love for you guys to be a part of that. If you want to know more just about my involvement with that and some of the things I've done there, you can talk to my sister Briley, who is doing this project. She can get you in touch with me, and I would love to answer any questions or just to tell you a little bit more about just kind of what's going on there and really how you can be a part of helping the people of Uganda right now. Thank you very much for listening, and